My name is Mogapi. I'm the project manager for the Autumn Leaf Mall project. This is a slightly different video from what I would normally post. This has to do with my work. I've been away from adventure trips and out of camera for a while. And part of the reason is that I was busy with a construction of Autumn Leaf Mall in Zeerust, 20,000 square meter building with about 49 shops and constructed at its peak with about 20 subcontractors and about 500 people on site. And this video is about to take you through the construction process and what it entailed and what it is now. I was appointed as contracts manager in late 2022. Started with construction in November. There were a couple of unfinished surface beds that the previous contractor had left. There was a number of challenges with the roof. There were elements that were incomplete in the roof, and the workmanship was quite a bit of a problem. In taking over of the project, one had to quickly learn what the challenges were and start to strategize how we're going to overcome those challenges. We had to deep dive into the drawings, and it's quite risky sometimes taking over work that was partially completed by others. I come from a background of construction management. I'm a civil engineer by profession. I think coming from that background, I have experience and know-how in terms of running a project of this size.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
We had a wonderful client that was behind us all the way, pushed us very hard. So we thank him. There was a time in one of the boardroom meetings where I was asked, who is in charge there? Because I went to complain, said, I thought you were in charge there. If you can't do it, you must tell us. And that became a defining moment in my mind, in my resolve, in my heart. And I came back with vigor. Made some decisions that sometimes were unpopular. Sometimes that people think like you think you are everything, you want to do everything yourself. You get names, but there's only one name I want: the guy that completed this movie. I don't mind the names. I think this speaks for itself.
A mall had about 20,000 GLA. The anchor tenants being Checkers, Clicks, Woolworths, and then there's Truworths, there's Mr. Price. And in that, there were timelines in terms of when the mall opening had to happen. When you took over, the new commitments in terms of dates had to be given. When will the shops be ready for beneficial occupation of the various shops? The roof was completely closed. Sections that were a problem rectified. And in closing the roof, it meant that all other trades can then now finish. Ceiling guys can come in and properly do what they need to do without threat of the element and just waterproof the structure. So that was the first thing that we had to do. And from there, all the other subcontractors, electrical subcontractor, HVAC subcontractor, fire sprinkler subcontractor, smoke detection, smoke extraction, drywall, glazing subcontractors, the plumbing subcontractor, the tiling subcontractor, refrigeration subcontractor. So there's quite a number of them that were present in it. There was some massive works then that could only take place once the building was watertight, and we achieved that in I think 2 to 3 months, and that was complete.
This mall has taken a lot of effort from a lot of people. We've seen stars on the shows, we've seen it has made people. I think there's one thing I want to just do is to thank God. That's the main thing. For the strength and the courage that we found in our hearts to be able to do this. With what we have today, I think I'm proud, to be honest, with what we've achieved, with the guys and the team that we have. It was a lean team. I think that became a challenge and a strength because we knew that we don't depend on anyone else except ourselves. And that became one of our strongest points.
Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain.
One needs to say that in private developments of this nature, the timing is of importance. I say this because you find a scenario where private development comes through and the client or the owner wants to build like a shopping center in this instance, and they say, no, I've got, let's say for instance, 500 million available to construct this, and I've got 2 years to spend this money. And coming in and bringing delays and disruptions to such a project becomes a costly exercise, because the contractor and different other contractors and personnel, they're staying longer, their accommodation, their salaries and everything else now starts to add up and takes longer than the initial 2 years. So the 500 million does no longer become 500 million, it becomes more than that, whereas it can be spent in the 2 years. But going further, then you start to add another expense and cost. And that's the unfortunate nature of project delays that come in.
Switching, you can go and obtain anything you want, anything.
Got in, took the challenge, and held the bull by its horns. And we rode the bull, I won't say it was easy. Sometimes you come to site, you feel like, what are we doing? What's happening? You don't see direction, you don't feel like, you don't have the right people to do this thing. The people that you trusted will come and do what you need them to do. They don't end up not doing what they need to do. They start slacking, getting used to the place. You have to revive the team, get new fresh blood, and this is what got us here.
The key ingredient is belief. They deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy.
What I've seen with this project is that there was complete ownership by the different subcontractors, the different foremen, and I think it is when there's passion about and care about one's work that you realize that the conflicts do not necessarily come from personal issues, but they come from somebody who cares about their work. And if they see somebody who does not care as much for their work, somebody goes and damages other people's work, that becomes a very serious matter to deal with. And that was in itself a strength to the project, that we collectively worked together and took care of each other. One of the challenging things in construction projects you'll see is strikes, where people would organize themselves and say, no, we're going to stop the project today, or plan on whatever day that they will do it, and they would come, and then obviously there'll be those who are opposed to those who want to stop and challenge the project's progress, and there'll be those who want to obviously achieve disruption, sometimes for personal gain, sometimes for various reasons that will be sent by other competing businesses to try and achieve, to slow down and to frustrate the development process.
And I'm saying what from now
it is our role as project managers to ensure that we manage the process through that, and we come out of it, deliver a project that's completed, is generating the revenue that it needs to do, and the old project owner to see their return on investment, which is quite primary and quite key in any private development, which is something we must always at all times put as priority, to ensure that whoever has envisioned the construction of a facility realizes their money and their objective in the time that it's set out, in the budget that it's set out, and in the quality that it's set out. And that is the role that we do. And in that, we call it a triangle, and we just need to make sure that we stick as close to the center of the triangle as possible throughout the process. The systems that run the lifeline of the mall, the electrical system, the fire system, the plumbing system, the HVAC system, so all the systems that needs to work, water systems, hot water, cold water system, everything needs to work out exactly to spec and ensure that the shop can function without a problem. It's an integrated system that works together, that ensures that there is compliance to the SANES standards, ensure that there's fire compliance throughout the building. One of the things that happens as part of our construction is that once all the systems are then put in place, we then have to demonstrate their functionality to the fire engineer. Firstly, we issue COCs to him, and he would then in turn issue a Form 4 to say that the systems are compliant and are as per his design. So the fire engineer invite the fire chief. The municipal fire chief then comes, we demonstrate the same process that in an event of fire, the system will be triggered and that the sprinkler system is tested and loaded to the degree that a fire would occur, that there will be sufficient suppression of that fire. Those are one of the major compliances that needs to be achieved in order to get then fire clearance, and then from there you can get from the electrical COCs, plumbing COCs, and then so on. Then would get your occupation certificate for the mall and so on. So there's quite an integral process that the entire building needs to work together to achieve compliance and receive occupation certificate from council. That carries out from a broader point of view of the mall and also to the different shops. In my recent trip to the mall, it was exciting to see one of the ladies that are employed in the project being a teller. A checker. This was refreshing to see and exciting. Somebody who went from pushing wheelbarrows and cleaning, being assistant to different other people, being a teller and working there.
Here's one of the builders of the mall, now a teller. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine, yourself?
Tell us what we're now to a molo.
I get a whole little more.
No, set the face back there.
You say
It's
it.
Hana Roki. What's now one moment?
What's no more being? I was about what?
Now what to be it's a no.
I know that's happened. I know. I'm feeling it too.
Sure.
I get it.
Ah, shame. We're happy to see this. No, high five.
High five.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, like now.
Yeah.
It's happening.
It's happening. People didn't believe.
I get it. Because I marry, yes.
Thank you.
At the ultimate end.
Thank you for the strike. Strike ile. Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
Yes.
And Akani and Mshandukani.
Mshandukani.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you to Checkers.
Thank you to Checkers.
Yes.
Autumn Leaf Mall.
Autumn Leaf Mall.
Yeah.
Done and built.
I get it.
Dusted.
That employment of people benefit a community at large, because you find that there will be persons who would be sitting at home at what point in time and they wouldn't have work, and now when a project of this nature comes through, it then creates opportunities of employment for such people, and then they move up. In some instances, it also creates opportunities for someone who would have set with a business idea to say, but if I get rental space and I start doing laundry, for instance, in a mall, there's demand for it. If I get a rental space in a mall setup where I could sell cell phones, for instance, if I could do hair, and I could generate revenue out of that. So the objectives of private development, they create opportunities for the community in terms of employment, in terms of business people, and people can grow from there. The unfortunate part is where you find that there's people who see construction as a means to an end, who see a project of this nature, of this magnitude come through and they're like, yes, this is where I rise up. And in most instances, it's not the case, because the objective is to create development. It's like a catalyst to development, and it can only increase the value of the community in itself, that tomorrow there's something bigger and better, and that's what I think the objective is in private development. And yes, there's that initial capital outlay that the person who puts it wants return on investment, but the fact is they're not the only one that are getting a return out of it. They'll get it as far as rental income is concerned and so on, but the actual benefactors is the community that sits there, and they can then leverage it and say, what can we do in complementing this development and enhancing the area? And that's where private-public partnership also arises, where the municipality will also say, no, but we can rezone the land for this and that use that could complement the development that's put there, have income as far as rates are concerned and taxes and services, and get to sell them to properly established entities, and then grow the municipal income levels and so on. So there's different ways that one could look at this. The objective is not ourselves. The objective is the future development of the area. It's the broader development of the area than individual. I think there was a time where we were quite close to finishing And there was a certain slowness, and I had to stop the entire site. I think somewhere around 10 o'clock, I called everybody out. I was like, yeah, we're talking today. What's your issues? You tell me one by one, because I don't know what's the problem, and this is not how I know this team can do. You are doing less than what you're supposed to do, and I want each and every one of you that's got a problem to voice it out. We thresh it out, all of us, in front of everybody.
go na le kopo go rre Mogapi ya tlo e bea mo pele ga rona e le gore mang le mang ntse a itse ka dinako tse tsotlhe mara gompieno re a emphasize wa ke rre Mogapi ya ka mogolo wa rona
worke taxi rank tshwanetse go morago and the only way our ka ira yalo ke ye go tsentse re dira mo gare ga go June kwa May April re bereka late re lebeletse gore re pusha gore re fetse now ra tumetse go feta mo maybe re ke botse go na le batho ba ba na le mathata go bereka overtime na okay
Who's going to think like Riba Gizama? That was a Riba Hofuang, Tukuang, that was
everyone protection in our
And that worked, and there were not so many people that wanted to talk, and giving them the opportunity to talk, and also I having the opportunity to address them and remind them of what the goal is, and show them that in finishing here there's something else that you need to do tomorrow, and we need to complete and get out of here. You know, you find in a week you could produce work worth, in a week you could produce easily work worth of probably 10 million. Different people, the electrical guy installing his substation to turn the generators, a plumbing guy installing his works to install the final fixes in a shop with his teams, the HVAC guy installing the HVAC system, the fire guy installing his pumps, the plumbing guy, everybody doing their part. You could easily hit in a week 5 to 10 million rands worth of work. And when you delay to do so in that week, you wasted 10 million rands that could potentially be in the claim that you could put. And in that instance, and it's not 10 million to one person, it's 10 million because the plumber, the electrical, everybody is doing their part. When there's such a loss, people do not realize the impact of the delay. That instead of completing work of that value, nothing was done, nothing was achieved. The wages for that day were nothing was achieved. The company for that day did not realize the profits and the installation is supposed to do and complete. It means now they must be staying longer on site, and we're not going to pay fees and expenses for companies to stay longer, for accommodation to be spent longer than what the initial duration was supposed to be. So it ends up even affecting the companies that they work for, that cannot continue. It eats into their pockets. They no longer can get bonuses. The nature of our work requires that we work long hours, work on holidays, work at night, in order to chase time and to meet the project deliverables. Because at the end of the day, that project value that has been put and budgeted by the investor, that says that we've got 100 million, and this 100 million must be spent in 12 months, and we want to see our first income on the 1st of February, it needs to be so. It cannot take longer than that. Some instances, yes, things go wrong, certain things don't happen in time, some people get delayed, some people do not perform, and those are risks that we face in construction projects, and that's the nature of our work. In some instances, the work is built and somebody built it wrong, that the tests are failing and that it needs to be repeated, and now there's time lost and there's money lost, and that money must be recovered from the person that messed it up. So that's the nature of our work and the nature of the risks that we have. And at the end of the day, we need to keep to the timeline, we keep to the commitments that we've made to the developer, and ensure that at the end of the day, they realize the return on investment. It was an interesting project. I enjoyed every minute of it. It took a lot out of me as a person. And from here, I've been busy with another commercial project. We're building a hotel.
They're fixing the door. Forgot 3. Housekeeping. Hey, Mogapi. Hadi yetsa jora yetsa. Hauna mtoto yetsa. But this side, they're not done.
And thank you for watching. I know it's not the ordinary Divoski Africa on top of a mountain kind of video, but I think from time to time one will post such work videos.
Thank you to Akani Properties for the opportunity that they gave us. Thank you to Mshandukani that believed in me as an individual, and everybody else that shared the vision and what the plan is and supported me throughout the process. And everybody that stood by my right hand, new friends, new allies, new associates, new partners, and all the subcontractors, people that worked overnight. I can name a lot of them. Everybody pulled their weight, everybody did their best, everybody delivered this baby. We can now call this almost complete autumn leaf mall built in Zeerust. For me, there's something special because this was my first, and for many others it was their first. And to deliver this, I think we just feel proud. Thank you.
As much as we enjoy overlanding, and for me, like I always say, if you ask me keys to a 5-star hotel, time for you to go to the bush, to Kruger, to Botswana, my favorite destination, which one would you take? I would not hesitate to take the bush, and for me it's my therapy. In any case, thank you and thanks for watching. Okay, finally time for that no man, the sound is not the sound. When I improve the sound. Okay, so yeah, the project had about the project stats. You'll see in the project stats is that what is that leasing thing? And what was I saying? I'm fine. Sure. Anyway, yeah. So since I'm disturbed so much. So the objectives